We're back on the server. We're making plans. We're flattening terrain, and we have a lot that needs done. I have a lot of ideas that we need to kind of get into in this episode, or maybe not in this episode, but eventually we'll get to them, I guess. One of them is making plans for this plot right here. This is kind of what I mentioned at the end of the last episode, was kind of making the plans for this building, and I think I have a good idea of what that's going to kind of look like, so we might get into that soon, but I actually kind of want to start flattening some areas out, because we're kind of getting close to this hill right here, but we're also kind of, just need to find some other areas out. One of the places that's actually like closest to the church, which is our like center point for the whole build, kind of, one of the closest places is right here. We need to flatten this out, cover this up, get some dirt, so we can kind of get the dirt from that hill over there, or from this hill right here, because we already have the beacon set up. It might be easier just to do that. We have more dirt that needs placed over here on this side. There's like a bunch of area next to this forest that can be flattened as well that we haven't covered up yet. So we have a bunch of stuff to do, and I have like a 3-hour stream VOD that I want to watch, so I'm gonna put that on in the background and kind of just start shoveling, see where we end up. Alright, let's get started. Alright, we have covered quite a big area here. It doesn't look like too much anymore because of like just how much space we've covered already. So, it doesn't look impressive, but this is actually quite a bit of grass and dirt that we have moved around. So yeah, I think this is good, at least for now. We do need to, of course, continue moving out, especially in this direction and that direction. Not so much in this direction, though we still do need to move out further this way, right? We still need to probably bring it at least to these mangrove trees over here, and probably about to this river, maybe a little bit past this river, but at least to this river, I think. So yeah, I think we still have a bit of work ahead of us, but of course this is going to be done over the course of a season, not just an episode. So we're moving on to this thing right here. We've been putting up wireframes, and I've been struggling with the scale and stuff, but we're gonna kind of just keep moving here until I kind of get a good idea of the scale, because that just kind of comes with practice, and we're also gonna kind of get a sense of like the density and the size of buildings and all that kind of stuff as we continue putting stuff down. If you don't know, this build is supposed to kind of be very, very loosely inspired by 1700s New Orleans. Now, we don't have much stuff that was from that period left intact, especially not in terms of like architecture. There are, I think, a couple buildings, but like not really in New Orleans. There was different fires and stuff that happened, and it's been, 300 years in a very hot and humid climate, so things that are not made of stone will rot very rapidly. But we don't have much. That kind of just allows me to kind of have a little bit of freedom here to do whatever I want, kind of a little bit. And it's also kind of meant to be a little bit fantasy-ified, so yeah, we don't have to be too realistic anyways. And I'm not going to try and be too, like, precise. So what I'm going to do is kind of make up stuff as I go here, but I still want things to kind of have like the sort of feel that you might expect from a town in the period. So what goes in downtown areas next to, churches and the like in old 1700s-ish kind of colonial towns? Well, a market. would probably be in here somewhere, and I think that's what this lot is going to be, and maybe a couple lots nearby. Because what I want to do is have buildings around the edge of the market, and then kind of have like an empty courtyard kind of thing where the market actually is like in. I think that kind of would look cool and also kind of makes sense for the kind of feeling that we're going for. So that's the idea. We'll have probably like an entrance around about here, and then another one maybe like on the other side of this. So it'd probably be maybe like right here. I don't know if I have all the scaffolding and wool to place all of the wireframes for all the buildings right now, but we can at least put up like one or two, and I think that would fill up the next section of this episode at least. So let's get started on this. Well, we did one. We did one wireframe for this area around this market. I do have the other plots kind of marked out here, at least kind of generally. We're in out of room, so we don't have all the stuff on this side completely planned out, but we have, you know, kind of the beginnings of markings to plan out everything here. So we got everything we need down for the floor plan. The buildings, the wireframes. I've been thinking about these, and I've been thinking about the ones we've already done, and I'm having a couple of issues with it. First of all, I have no idea what I'm doing, right? So like, I don't have creative mode plans or anything yet. This is like the first step of making those plans, so I don't know where this is going to end up. And in the process of making these wireframes, I'm changing a lot of stuff, which is kind of what you do. It's usually faster in creative mode, but I'm doing it here because I might as well do it here. It kind of makes the episode more interesting and all that. And I've changed this building a couple of times. Part of the problem is I'm not exactly sure what this building is going to be. Now, I do have a good idea, right? I think it being a tailor kind of makes sense. It being like next to the market kind of makes sense. It being a kind of big building arguably makes sense. It could be smaller, but I think it's fine. And it having some other things next door kind of makes sense as well. And we'll get into that in a second. But I've been thinking about this building and kind of what it should look like. And I've gone through kind of a couple iterations already of kind of just the general shape. And I'm still not really happy with it, especially the shape of the roof. The A-frames here and on the end are kind of too steep for the climate that we're supposed to kind of be building and looking like. They need to be more flat, I think, or at least they should be more flat. And so we might kind of go back over this and fix the wireframes, but we might as well just kind of do it in future creative mode plans of just kind of correcting all that, and then we can kind of continue doing it the right way as we move on here on the server. But since we have this building here and it's a tailor, what goes next to a tailor? What should these other buildings be? Well, I have one good idea. A cobbler, a leather worker, shoemaker, that kind of a thing. I think that makes sense for it to be in this town a different profession, because obviously we're not dealing with a very huge population, so different people usually took on multiple roles. So I think it makes sense for there to be a cobbler here and for it to be next to the tailor. And I have no problem with it being next to the market. I also thought it would be a good idea for an apothecary to be next to the market, because I feel like that kind of fits in with the general style of this area, and I think I can make a really cool looking build next to the market like that. And there's certain things that I think definitely would not make sense next to the market. One of those being a stable, right? Horses smell, and they make things that smell. so you probably don't want that next to your food that you're getting from the market. I also thought it probably doesn't make too much sense for anything that could burn down buildings to be next to the stalls in the market. So we're probably not going to have a baker right next to here. We would probably want it across the street in one of these directions, so it's close by but not in the market per se. We would also want maybe something like a furniture store nearby. I figured that would kind of make sense, but in this kind of size of a town, it doesn't quite work, right? So there might be a carpenter that makes furniture, but he would also make, buildings and other things as well, which is kind of something that maybe would make sense next to a graveyard, because he would also be making coffins. And so I did put a sign here that was, for a coffin maker, but I don't think that really makes much sense. So this could be a carpenter right here, or we might make the carpenter kind of go across the street somewhere. I'm not exactly sure on that one. We might as well put it here. So we might end up kind of having a little workshop of some kind in this building. That does leave this lot up for grabs. I don't know what would really end up here. And the one that would end up right here is also up for grabs. So we have two lots here that we don't know what to do with. One lot that we can't do anything with just yet. And pretty much we just got the leather worker and maybe the carpenter in these two spots, but I'm not sold on the carpenter being here just yet. So yeah, I don't know quite what to do with these buildings just yet. And I think getting a good idea of what is going on in the building is pretty important for kind of just figuring out what the building should look like. So we're gonna have to kind of figure things out first, and that's not something I can really do on camera, so we gotta do something else for the rest of this episode. And I think clearing out some of this space and expanding in these two directions seems like a good enough plan to me, right? So we can clear out some of this dirt and hill and these trees and at least have a little bit more room to build in future episodes and stuff. I think that makes sense. We can go ahead and kind of get this done, and I'll start chopping down trees now. So time-lapse time. Well, I'm not sure exactly how many trees we cut down here, but we did make quite a bit of progress. We covered up like a whole shulker box of wood here. We have we flattened an area out over there. You can kind of see that there's a lot more open area in this direction too. We got a shulker box, or over a shulker box of stone really from there, and we've got like 3 shulker boxes of dirt that we ended up putting in here from over there. So yeah, I think it was actually quite a bit of work, but like I said, we're kind of in the point where like it doesn't look like much because you like spend 3 shulker boxes of dirt and you only like move 10 blocks in a direction, and it just doesn't look like much. But honestly, we did quite a bit of moving dirt here, and chopping down trees as well. So we have made progress. We're a lot closer, at least it feels like, to that jungle over there and to the mangrove swamp over there. And we definitely have more room to start working out the plans for the next couple of like plots over in this section. I'm still not entirely sure what I'm going to be doing for all these different buildings, but I've kind of gotten to the point to where I'm like, well, they don't actually have to be all shops. We can make some residential buildings and stuff, so that might be, kind of what we end up doing with some of these, and that would make it also kind of easy to just design kind of generic looking buildings around the farmers market, which I think would look fine. But yeah, I think that's pretty much all we have time for in this episode. I don't know how long it is, but judging off of the last couple of episodes, it's probably not very long. I kind of want to keep them under 20 minutes in general, but they've been a little like around 15 minutes, which is a little short. But I do work on 2 episodes a week now, so I figure it kind of is made up for on my different other channel that I'm posting on. So if you're interested in that, go check that out. It's not Minecraft related, but I still think it's pretty cool and important and stuff. I gotta go work on that now, so we're ending the episode here. Thank you guys all for watching, and God bless.